His Excellency Grand Chief Sir Michael Thomas Somare, Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Your Excellency, President, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, first I'd like to acknowledge and thank the government of Kingdom of Denmark and its people for excellent hospitality extended to me and my delegation from Papua New Guinea. Your Excellency, obviously this is not an audience that needs to be convinced that climate change is real. For Pacific Island states, however, some of our habitats and islands face total obliteration. Without question, climate change is the greatest challenge of our time. Therefore, my objective in coming to Copenhagen is to identify what needs to be done by our countries together. Rich and poor, Papua New Guinea seeks to contribute to legally binding, robust, and effective outcome as soon as possible. Today, humanity stands at a crossroad. All energy technologies are bringing about untold damage due to global warming. At the same time, we have the knowledge and technology necessary to total power our economies from renewable energy while halting forest loss and improving food security. Leaders such as myself and many of you here must seize this challenge and fundamentally restructure our development pathways. Economic growth must be forever discontinued from carbon emissions. With thoughtful support, maybe developing countries like mine can frame the next revolution, the environment revolution. Do we stand a chance? As we are seeing in my country, in Papua New Guinea, we must understand that climate change is occurring faster than experts predicted. Indeed, it is likely that we need to stabilize at 350 parts per million, not 450 parts per million. To return to 350 parts per million, however, we must protect and increase our forests and broadly apply new technologies, including carbon capture and storage and negative carbon. Therefore, rather than blaming our problem on others, Papua New Guinea is focused in becoming part of the solution. Last Wednesday, my government adopted a draft climate-compatible development plan. In summary, my government accepted the challenge to become effectively carbon neutral by 2020, meaning 100% reduction against business as usual, while at the same time tripling the GDP per capita. Obviously, this objective is highly dependent on adequate, predictable, and sustainable financial support. In order to do this, we must focus on three key mitigation areas: land use, power generation, and transportation. And at the same time, we must simultaneously adapt to these 5 challenges: coastal flooding, malaria, inland flooding, agriculture, yield change, and damage to coral reefs. While it may appear to some that our goals are obviously or overall ambitious for a small island development states, we believe ourselves, in fact, we believe it would be negligent to pursue any other course. For most developing countries, our forests and rivers have sustained us for thousands of years. But in some ways, we now feel trapped. The old ways allowed us to survive, but cannot prepare our children for the future. The ecosystem services of our land are valued at zero. Our rural communities that depend on and care for forests, therefore, must make a living in other ways. The result is around 20% of global carbon emission. Clearly, we cannot defeat the ravages of climate change without also defeating deforestation. The challenge of REDD+, therefore, is to value forests more alive than dead. But how much is enough? The recent international efforts, which focused on the interim financial needs for REDD has determined that between 15 to 25 billion euros may be underwrite 25% reduction in global rates of deforestation by 2015. At first, that sounds like a lot. Put another way, we are talking only 1.5 cents per day for citizens of the United States and Europe, or about equal to Goldman Sachs bonus pool for a year of 2009. If we can make REDD+ work, our communities can continue to live sustainably, something much more of the world has forgotten in the rush to get ahead. To conclude, Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, we are too slow. Stop and reverse the effect of global warming. We must thoughtfully redesign our values and frameworks. For example, Exxon, the remaining king of age of oil, is valued over 325 billion, while Google, the champion of information age, is valued around $190 billion. At the same time, left standing, the world's large great tropical forests are valued at zero. If Exxon and Google together disappear tomorrow, the vast majority of humanity will not even notice. While if the world's tropical forest disappears into smoke by morning, every human on Earth will wake up to a world forever changed. This is not rational. Therefore, we must act now. To succeed in Copenhagen by Friday, clearly, a bold leadership will be required on both sides of the economic divides to forge this change. Leadership is also essential to effective implementation. Sheikh Yaqi Yamani, the former Minister for Energy of Saudi Arabia, famously opined, "The Stone Age did not end for lack of stone, and oil age will end long before the world runs out of oil," end of quote. The Copenhagen climate change process must result in legally binding agreement. Such an agreement can catalyze the necessary environmental age, lest we suffocate life on Earth and beneath our greed. Thank you.